that 2021 is the International Year of Fruit and Vegetables? We all know fruit and vegetables are good for us, but do you really know why? Welcome to Teagasc Horticulture and Food Research. We're finding out a lot about fruit and vegetables and want to share some of this with you. Let's start at the beginning with growing the fruit and veg.
Hi, I'm Lael Walsh and I'm a Research Officer in Sustainable Horticulture at Teagasc.
And I'm Lorraine Foley, a lecturer in horticulture at Technological University of Dublin.
We'd like to talk to you today about our research in spinach production and how we're trying to reduce food and plastic waste. We're trying to make spinach production more environmentally sustainable.
Environmental sustainability means thinking about the impact on the environment of the growing, processing and packaging of spinach. We're also looking to reduce the waste that occurs when consumers don't use all of the spinach they buy. The situation of food waste in Ireland is really quite scary. We waste about 1 million tonnes of food every year. As a nation, we're responsible for an average of 54 kilos of plastic waste per person every year. That's the weight of 54 bags of sugar.
Leafy veg like spinach is very watery, and watery crops are prone to spoil and be wasted very quickly. We use packaging to keep the environment of leafy veg constant, and the right packaging can reduce waste of perishable foods like spinach by keeping them edible for longer. But this packaging is often plastic-based, and synthetic plastics negatively affect the environment. So is it possible to reduce our reliance on plastic packaging and the risk of food waste?
Well, this is what we're trying to find out with our Research Leaf No Waste project. This is a project that's supported by the Science Foundation of Ireland.
What we know about spinach is that it continues to breathe after it's harvested. This is known as respiration, and this leads to moisture buildup which can cause mold, fungal, and bacterial growth, and this causes the spinach to spoil. We want to lessen this breathing through the use of biostimulants, or as we call them bio-based products, applied to the plant while it grows. This tackles food waste, but what about plastics?
There are some better packaging types that are biodegradable, compostable, or which can be recycled. We need to make these types of packaging more suited for use with spinach. If we can make the crop last longer and ensure it's packaged in a more environmentally sustainable way, this will lower the impacts on our environment, reducing food waste and global warming.
At Teagasc, we're trying to support growers to produce fruit and vegetables in the most environmentally sustainable way possible.
I hope you enjoyed our research on sustainable crop production.
Now let's go to Leo Finn, who will tell us about strawberry production. He works in our Ashtown campus with Esther Ferrari.
The strawberry crop is grown in troughs, set in gutters suspended at a height which is comfortable for picking, and it keeps the fruit clean and dry. Glasshouse conditions are warmer than outside, and extra heat can be provided to give a good growing environment. Plant nutrients are provided by regular liquid feeding events throughout the day, and this is constantly monitored. Plant stimulants can also be used to help protect plants from pest and disease. We use a range of safe biological insect controls to predate or parasitize a range of possible pests such as aphid, whitefly, red spider mite, and therefore avoid harsh chemicals. Because the crop is grown indoors, there will not be as many natural insects available to pollinate the flowers, so a hive of native bumblebees is placed within the crop. If pollinators are not present, the fruit quality will be poor and the berries misshapen. We begin picking in mid to late April, harvesting at least twice a week. Lots of fruit continues to develop through May, and the crop will finish in early June. Some newer varieties may produce a second flush of fruit in August-September. The old plants and the substrate they are grown in are composted and used elsewhere on site at Ashtown.
Let's find out what happens next. We'll go to Teagasc Prepared Consumer Food Centre at our Ashtown campus to see ways to process and package our fruit and veg.
Hello, I'm Shay Hannon, National Prepared Consumer Food Centre Manager at Teagasc Ashtown. Within the centre, we work with a number of Irish food businesses to create new food and drink products. Our air drying and freeze drying systems are widely used to dry and produce a range of fruit and vegetable based powders. Drying is one of the oldest methods of food preservation, but can be a complex process and affects the texture, chemical composition, nutrition, and sensory properties of foods in different ways. We are currently investigating various drying processes through our air drying and freeze drying systems that can extract and create valuable ingredients from a wide range of fruits and vegetables. The nutritional benefits, together with the opportunity to reduce environmental impact, are important motivators to find a way to enrich our snack products with fruit and vegetables, contributing to a sustainable food system. In our air drying system, high quality drying results can be achieved in short times, utilising gentle drying at low temperatures. The unique design of this drying system ensures the process is very efficient and does not waste energy. For effective drying, the air should be hot, dry and moving, and these three factors are all interrelated. For drying vegetables, such as spinach, we carry out a series of trials to determine the rate of drying and the ideal temperature to make sure we retain as many nutrients as possible. We test the dried samples in our nutritional laboratory, and based on these results, we then work the most efficient method to dry the product. Food safety is also a key concern, and we test each product for a range of food poisoning and food spoilage organisms to ensure it is safe to eat. The National Prepared Consumer Food Centre also offers access to freeze drying technology. The basic principle of freeze drying is the removal of water from a product while the water is in a solid state of ice. This is a process known as sublimation, which is the vaporization of water directly from its solid state to its vapor state, without first passing through an intermediate liquid phase. This equipment lowers the temperature of a product to temperatures as low as -40 degrees Celsius, and then a high pressure vacuum is applied to take out the water in the form of vapor. The advantages of freeze drying foods and liquids are that it can be dried at low temperatures without damaging a product's physical and chemical structure. Freeze-dried foods can be stored with an extremely long shelf life if stored properly. Freeze-dried fruits, such as strawberries, are used commonly in breakfast cereals and ready-to-eat snacks. We have carried out trials on drying whole and sliced strawberries to work out the fastest method of drying while keeping the overall structure of the strawberry intact. We can then create finely chopped freeze-dried strawberries, like in breakfast cereals. Or we can use these strawberries to create strawberry powder, which can be used in a variety of snack products.
Here in Teagasc, we want to make sure all our food is safe to eat, including those delicious and nutritious fruit and vegetables. Let's hear from Kay Burgess, one of our food safety scientists.
Climate change brings many challenges. It is predicted that in years to come, Ireland will face hotter, drier summers. This will have an impact for our fruit and vegetable producers. It will likely mean that they will need to use irrigation water more frequently, instead of relying on rainwater as they would traditionally do. This will need to be done in a sustainable way. International studies have shown that irrigation water and water used in processing can be a source of contamination of fruit and veg with food poisoning bacteria and viruses. It is therefore critical that irrigation water and water used in food processing is of the highest quality. Teagasc, along with partners in TU Dublin and UCD, has recently commenced a Department of Agriculture funded project called Nutritious. It is focused on microbial and chemical safety in fruit and veg production. In particular, we will focus on quality and safety of irrigation water. We will look at the quality of water from different sources used in the production of fresh fruit and veg, right down to identifying the microbial communities present, and we will look at options of reusing water in a sustainable and safe manner. Such information will identify when and where water treatment may be needed. As part of Nutritious, we're looking at various options for the treatment of water for irrigation and processing purposes, taking cost and practicality into account. This will support fruit and veg producers in assuring the safety and quality of their crops using sustainable irrigation options.
Now let's learn about what happens after we eat. How do we get all the goodness out of the food and into our bodies where we need it? We're going now to our Moore Park Research Centre, where some of the scientists will explain exactly what happens to the food in your body.
Every cell in our body requires fuel to function. When we eat our food, we get energy from carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. Hi, my name is Alice Gibran, and I'm a senior research scientist in Food for Health Ireland, hosted by Teagasc. Today we're going to explain about our digestive system using the life-size model and then later we're going to show you how we as scientists study the digestive system in the lab. Digestion starts in the mouth as a combination of physical and chemical processes. First chewing with our teeth, and then the release of saliva, which contains enzymes. You can think of enzymes as little scissors that cut your food into smaller and smaller pieces in the digestive system. When we swallow, the food moves down from the mouth into the esophagus and is pushed down into the stomach in a movement called peristalsis. In the stomach, food is churned and mixed with digestive juices. These juices are extremely acidic and have two purposes: to dissolve the food and to kill bacteria. The breakdown of protein starts in the stomach. Chickpeas and other beans are examples of vegetables that are high in protein. Next, the food is pushed down into the small intestine, here. Digestive enzymes from the pancreas are released. These enzymes break down some of the carbohydrates and proteins in our fruit and veg. Broccoli, carrots, and sweet potato are examples of vegetables high in carbohydrates. Meanwhile, the liver, which is above the stomach in our body, produces bile, which is then stored in the gallbladder. Bile is also released into the small intestine, where it breaks down fat molecules. Avocados are examples of fruits that are high in healthy fats. Now, most of the nutrients are ready to be absorbed into the bloodstream from the small intestine. We'll hear more about it later from Cathal and Leo. Finally, in the large intestine, water is removed from the food and reabsorbed into the bloodstream.
Hi, my name is Conor Fitzpatrick and I'm a PhD student here in Teagasc Moorpark. My research looks at digestion and how different foodstuffs can alter our digestive system.
We know how the digestive system works, but as scientists, we always want to learn more. For example, at the moment, we're studying new plant-based protein bars that are made of peas, rice, and other plant-based materials. But since the area of plant-based proteins is quite new, we know very little about how these foods behave in the digestive system. In our lab, we have developed an experiment that mimics the digestive system. Using common lab equipment and chemicals, we can copy the chemical and physical reactions that take place in our digestive system. And in this way, we can test a variety of foods.
Today we're going to show you what happens to our plant-based protein bar during digestion in our digestion model.
When we eat food, digestion starts immediately in our mouths by physical and chemical methods. We replicate this by using a grinder to mimic our teeth, and by adding simulated salivary fluid, which includes enzymes to mimic our saliva. After this, food passes along the esophagus into the stomach. We call digestion that occurs in the stomach gastric digestion. Similar to the oral phase, food is digested by both physical and chemical digestion in the gastric phase.
Physical digestion occurs in the stomach when the muscular walls churn the food in a process known as peristalsis. To mimic this in the lab, we use a stirrer which is attached to our overhead rotating device.
Chemical digestion is a very important part of digestion in the stomach. We add acidic gastric fluid and enzymes such as pepsin, which break down proteins into smaller parts, or peptides. The gastric fluid and enzymes are added via two different tubes at a constant rate. We also measure the pH using a pH probe.
Finally, food is moved to the intestinal phase, where even more fluid and enzymes are added. After 2 hours in the intestinal phase, food is now fully digested and is ready to be absorbed into the bloodstream.
Thank you, Conor. Hi, my name is Cathal Lold and I'm a PhD student based here in Teagasc. The focus of my research looks at effective processing and digestion. The nutrients from our digested food must pass from the digestive system into the bloodstream. Here, they are transported around the body to where they are needed. This process is known as absorption and occurs here in the small intestine. The inner lining of the small intestine is covered in millions of tiny, finger-like structures called villi. Each villi is approximately 0.5 to 1.6 millimeters long and consists of many more microvilli. The small intestine is about 6 meters long in an adult, but these villi increase the surface area to approximately 250 meters squared, about the size of a tennis court. This increases the space for nutrients to be absorbed into the bloodstream, meaning that they can get to where they are needed quickly. We can visually assess the small intestine under the light microscope to see if there is any sign of damage or stress to the gut barrier. Broken, cracked and bent villi, a darker appearance and cell death at the villus tip are all signs of damage to the gut barrier and can be key indicators of any potential diseases. Celiac disease, where a person cannot digest gluten, is a prime example of such a condition in which the normal villi structure is visibly degraded. This barrier between the small intestine and the bloodstream is paper thin, but the cells are so close together that they act like a gatekeeper, preventing bacteria and large molecules from entering the bloodstream. This junction between the cells is called the tight junction. It's very important that these tight junctions are strong, as they can be affected by the food we eat.
Hi everyone, my name is Leo Nunn and I'm a second year PhD student here in Moore Park. In our lab, we grow cells in special plates called transwell plates, just like this one here. The plate contains 2 layers. The cells, known as CACO2 cells, are widely used to represent the human intestinal epithelial barrier. The main advantage of using these cells is their ability to transform into a monolayer, which is a single layer of closely packed cells. This transformation takes around 21 days to occur. On day 21, we can then add the digested food to see how the different food particles affect the integrity of the tight junction. The cells are incubated with the digested food for 2 hours, to mimic the time it would typically spend in the small intestine. If the food particles go straight through the cells, then we know that the tight junction isn't very strong. Gaps in this tight junction increase permeability and can allow bacteria and other toxins to pass into the bloodstream. Probiotic yogurts, broccoli, carrots and strawberries are examples of some foods that can help to improve our gut barrier health. Picking the right foods to include in our diet is extremely important. By using models of our digestive system to investigate the effects of different foods, we can choose which ones are the healthiest. Using that information, we can invest in our future well-being.
Finally, it's back to the question, why are fruit and veg good for us? How does eating fruit and vegetables help make us healthier? Take 5.
You've probably heard that you need to eat your 5 a day to stay healthy. In fact, the guidelines now say that we should eat between 5 and 7 portions a day, so really we need to eat at least 5.
But 3 out of 4 people in Ireland are not consuming their 5 portions of fruit and veg a day. In fact, we're only consuming 2 to 3 portions a day.
I'm Keelan Murphy.
And I'm Sinead McCarthy, and we're nutrition researchers here at Teagasc. And today we're going to give you 5 good reasons to take 5 or more fruit and veg a day.
We need to eat fruit and veg to keep our bodies working at their best. Fruit and veg are a key source of vitamins and minerals that our body needs to work properly. For example, fruit like oranges and strawberries and vegetables like peppers and tomatoes are good sources of vitamin C. Vitamin C helps our bodies to make collagen, which is an important part of the structure of our skin, teeth and bones.
Fruit and vegetables also help protect us from disease. Not only do fruit and veg contain vitamins and minerals, but they also contain fibre and phytochemicals. Together, these nutrients help to protect us against diseases like diabetes, heart disease and cancer. Phytochemicals are the healthy compounds found in fruit and veg that give them their colour. That's why we need to eat a rainbow of colour to get all of these wonderful benefits.
Eating enough fruit and veg is important for our vision. Vegetables like carrots, kale and broccoli all contain carotenoids, which are a type of phytochemical. These carotenoids help to protect our eyes from damage, especially the part of our eye that allows us to see colour.
A diet rich in fruit and vegetables can also help maintain a healthy body weight. So for example, this bar of chocolate has the same amount of calories as this entire plate of fruit and vegetables, and that's a head of broccoli, a cup of strawberries, a banana and an entire red pepper. So not only will all of this fruit and veg keep you fuller for longer, you're also getting all of those wonderful nutrients and benefits we've just been telling you about.
Fruit can help fuel your sport. For example, mangoes and bananas are a good source of carbohydrate. These are the main fuel that our body uses during intense exercise, so eating enough of it can improve your sport performance. So now that we've hopefully convinced you to eat at least 5 portions of fruit and veg a day, here are 5 examples of what actually counts as a portion.
1 medium fruit like an orange, an apple or a banana. 2 small fruits like plums or kiwis. 1 bowl of homemade vegetable soup. 1 bowl of salad. Half a cup of cooked veg such as fresh or frozen carrots, broccoli or mushrooms.
So the next time you see the fruit in your bowl or the vegetables in your plate, eat up, thinking of all the health benefits you're getting in every single bite. Sláinte!
Thank you for watching. Now that you know a bit more about sustainable, delicious and nutritious fruit and vegetables, maybe you'd like to try growing your own. You can download some helpful guides from Teagasc website.